given the fact that you have this kind of unique angle of having been a contractor, actually sprayed foam, sold it for a long time, and now you're with the manufacturer side of things, you know, there's a lot of misconceptions out there that homeowners and people just in general have about spray foam insulation. And if you've got some of your like top 3 or 4, topics that you can address to that issue, I want to kind of hear your thoughts on what those misconceptions are and what the reality is behind them.
Yeah, I think the biggest misconception right now is what's happening overseas.
Over in England and
Specifically,
Europe.
that's right. Yeah, I'm getting
Yeah.
phone calls about that all the time. I mean, it seems like every other day I'm on the phone with a contractor who's on the phone with their builder, building inspector. I mean,
Yeah.
we've even gone as far to talking to the insurance agencies to like, hey, is there truth to what's going on here? Are we seeing anything? And
Yeah.
then our trade association, the SPFA, is actually addressing that on a national level and international level as well.
And before we get too far, just so people that don't know what we're talking about, can you kind of lay the land of what we're going to explain here?
Yeah. So in the United Kingdom, what's happening right now is they have a lot of houses that were sprayed, from everything that we can see is sprayed with open cell spray foam. So a vapor permeable and water permeable insulation to
Mm.
the underside of the roof deck. And mortgage companies are refusing to either refinance, they're not passing that inspection. Um, from
And that's pretty
everything,
serious.
yes,
It,
it is.
it's
And
huge.
so it's this big boogeyman that has just traveled like wildfire across the country. And I would say even across the globe. I'm seeing it on random comments online. Well, these countries in Europe are disallowing it. And so a
It's going to
little
be
bit out,
banned here eventually or something.
yeah, that's the threat. So everybody's saying this, but I would still qualify it as an absolute misconception at the moment, because if you follow the building science like you've laid out, a lot of this starts to make more sense. You know, the United
Yeah.
Kingdom does not use central heating and air the same way that the United States does. So that's
Okay.
a huge issue when it comes to moisture management. Okay. So, like you and I have gone on in our past, is it an issue with the spray foam or is it an issue with the environment? Is it
Or the
both?
occupants.
Correct. You know, you and I have both seen houses built the exact same way,
Mhm.
insulated the exact same way, yet the occupants are living in it differently, whether that's just more people or, like we've had, I can
The
think of one
behavior.
going back 15 years ago. Yeah, they were boiling water all day long. Of
Yeah.
course, the environment is going to be much harder to manage at that point.
Yeah.
And that's really where this is coming down to is, the spray foam is doing what it needs to do. Was it the right product of spray foam? That argument is fair to say. So like there's a shred of truth in this that
Mhm.
should it have been closed cell, which is a vapor barrier and water, barrier.
Mhm.
Yes. But then what would have happened anyway? That moisture is going to still be in that house.
You still have to dehumidify the moisture or remove it somehow or another, right? So,
That's exactly right. Yep.
so that's really the crux of the issue that we're hearing about is houses that were spray foamed that didn't have central AC or some kind of dehumidification method or a lack of ventilation to remove the moisture. And now that, um, so is it because the environment that this is occurring in, is it a humid environment, I would assume as well, like kind of the Kentucky climate zone 4, climate zone 3? Is it similar to that or is it more than that?
I don't know enough about um, England and Scotland and their weather patterns to really say about that. I would
Yeah.
assume from a little bit of travel there, and then their consistency through the Gulf Stream and everything, it would be something more like Southern Illinois, also Southwest Michigan, where you're cool and humid, so you're very close to the dew point, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
Kentucky, we don't have that problem nearly as much. As the temperature rises, the humidity tends to level out, except in our bridge months. But in
Mhm.
West Michigan and Central Michigan, that dew point and the temperature are rising together. So you're
Okay.
still going to maintain that. I'm sorry, I said that the humidity and temperature are rising together. So the dew point is still very close. And as we know, like when you're hitting that dew point, you're getting condensation. And
Yeah.
that's one of the downfalls in certain circumstances of open cell spray foam.
So the issues that are happening in Europe are mainly because of the housing stock that they have and their relative lack of awareness of air conditioning and dehumidification in that housing stock.
Lonely me and former contractor, that is what I would look at, you know? And
Okay.
so now it's an issue of who's in charge of disproving this misinformation or confirming the shreds of evidence there. And then
Right.
even after that, it's what's going to be done about this? Because this is something we all have to factor in and live with. So it's really bringing the building science topic to light. And that's how all the contractors I've been dealing with across my territory have been approaching it. You know, you acknowledge the fact that, yes, this is a possibility, just like you and I have done in the past.
Mhm.
Acknowledge the fact that, yes, if this isn't taken care of correctly on the planning stage, it can be a problem.
Sure.